Are you or someone you know looking to buy or sell a home? When you use a HomeGain Realtor to buy or sell a home, you can get $150. Visit HomeGain.com and click on the Promo 150 banner at the top of the page to get started. Compare HomeGain Realtors and choose your favorite. Complete your home purchase or sale transaction with a HomeGain Realtor, and HomeGain will pay you $150. Get started today by going to HomeGain.com. Are you buying or selling a home? Having a realtor can make buying or selling real estate much easier. HomeGain can recommend and connect you with a top real estate agent in your area. Call 866-512-7918 or visit HomeGain.com. Did you know, according to a HomeGain nationwide survey, that having a realtor working for you improves your chances by 50% of getting your home sold? HomeGain can recommend and connect you with the top real estate agent in your area. Call 866-512-7918 or visit HomeGain.com.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Washington, D.C. Metro with local expert Ryan Sloper. Now, here's Ryan.
Welcome back, Washington, D.C. Metro, to Ryan Sloper's Real Estate Radio. And I'm joined today by Louis Cammarosano, the general manager of HomeGain, and Shaun Murphy, real estate agent with RE/MAX Allegiance. Quick reminder that if you have any real estate related or finance or credit related questions, feel free to give us a call at the off-air line number. It's 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030. Remember, that's an off-air number. You'll get the voicemail. Leave a message, and we'll get back to you by the end of the day. To continue on with our conversation, gentlemen, just about what a good opportunity it is to buy right now as a long-term investment. Shaun, you were telling me a story while we were just at break about investors that you have right now that can't find anything.
Right. And they're excited about the
potential opportunity. Yeah,
exactly. For instance, one of my clients has a rental property in Arlington, and he recently had the tenants needed to find new tenants. So the first weekend he put it on the market, he had like 5 applications.
Right.
So which obviously the rent went up. So now he's excited and he wants more. The problem is, anytime we find a place that's undervalued, it gets swiped up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So we're having a hard time finding something, and I'm hearing that from investors, in the DC metro area across the board.
Yeah, I think it's so competitive to get your hand on something, especially that's producing a good cash flow income.
Yep.
And I mean, I think that's why a lot of investors are actually having to try to go outside of this area, into different states. But then you're probably not looking as great a return on your investment either, because the rents aren't near as high.
Right.
Although it seems like they are increasing. I think that it still is a tremendous opportunity out there, for investors. It's just finding the property would be more of the problem, it seems like, than anything else right now.
Yep.
And it's interesting because in the statistics you were giving for actual type of loans, in June only 11% were cash sales. So that kind of tells you that, more people are getting their hands on that could be first-time home buyers or move-up buyers that are just looking to get into their next property. And they're probably bidding up, where an investor is not really looking to bid up. He's looking to get in as cheap as possible, but
Exactly.
There's just so much competition out there. It doesn't seem like that's taking place.
Right.
I want to jump in. There was some data, I believe this was from the KCM blog. It was showing the distressed properties data. There's a lot of talk about shadow inventory and, how much shadow inventory is out there as far as, REOs that haven't actually came about yet. And CoreLogic is reporting that, and this is national statistics right now, that units seriously delinquent 90-plus days, there's 790,000 units that are 90-plus days late right now. Units in some stage of foreclosure, 440,000. Units where foreclosure is completed is 440,000. And then the LPS was reporting that the ratio of distressed inventory to sales is 50-1, which that's not that bad to me. I mean, 50-1 doesn't seem that bad. RealtyTrack is actually showing the percentage of discounts off of the price for a short sale is 9.5% versus a foreclosure is 35.1%. So, Shaun, would you? I wouldn't think that these numbers aren't very accurate for our area.
Right, not at all. And then one of the reasons for the short sales could be, that they're 9.5% lower is usually sellers and agents price short sales lower to try and get a contract. So that's how that number could be.
And that doesn't even mean that they're going to get the contract at that price, because the bank still has to approve it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting, across the board. What are you seeing out on the West Coast, Lewis? I mean, are you seeing that there's a bigger majority of sales or short sales or foreclosures?
We see both of them.
Yeah.
We see a lot of them in not the West Coast, but mostly in Las Vegas. And Phoenix.
Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah, those tend to be the biggest. It's surprising that the real coastal areas in California have not. They've been hit, but the ones that have the largest percentage of foreclosure and short sales are like Inland Empire, things that are 20, 40, 50 miles inland from the coast.
Yeah. Yep. And I think, like, when just speaking about our area again, I mean, if you could go to Arizona and buy probably 5 houses for $100,000 each right now.
Sure. Florida too.
Yeah, and Florida too. I mean, when you're talking about long-term investment, it doesn't get much better than that. Because ultimately, people are going to want to move into a they need to live somewhere. They have to live somewhere. They're either going to buy or they're going to rent. They might be, I've seen that it's been a common trend in a lot of these areas where it's multiple families moving into one house, to try to make ends meet. But I mean, it's just a tremendous investment opportunity long term in those areas.
And the economics on those, Ryan, are pretty good because it's not hard to find people who are willing to pay $600, $700, $800 a month in rent.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, when you're picking them up for $100,000. Right. Yeah, it's a great deal there, and not to mention, I mean, long term, I mean, you're actually going to be able to pay off that house. The chance of an investor being actually to pay off something is a lot greater than you're in D.C. area. I mean, you might be talking about $400,000 or $500,000. It might take them a little bit longer.
Also, the period of time that you're not renting, you can hold out for rent. When you have the more expensive rentals, every month that goes by really hurts you.
Yeah. I agree with you. You're listening to Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Sloper, joined by Louis Cammarosano, General Manager of HomeGain, and Shaun Murphy, Real Estate Agent with RE/MAX Allegiance. I wanted to jump into, ask you, Shaun. I know that there was an article that was in CNN Money about sell your house faster in a tough market. Once again, this is a national headline, right. And I want to kind of make sure that you guys out there listening, that you understand that just because this is a headline, that you really need to work with a trusted professional that knows their area. It's hyper local, especially in the DC metro area. You really need to know not only a county or a city or a zip code, you need to know that neighborhood.
Exactly.
And I think, Shaun does that very well. He kind of, he says, these are the areas that I know and I know them very well. What would you say, Shaun, that, obviously this is not really a tough market here. It's definitely, a seller's market right now. I mean, they're getting prices above and beyond what they're asking for.
In some cases, yeah.
And, I think a lot of that has to do with the condition of the home, the home's location. But what would you say you think the number one most important thing if you try to sell your home, what would it be?
Well, the number one thing would be pricing. Yeah. Obviously, if you price your home right and it shows well, it's going to sell. But that's a given, really.
Right.
So one of the things that I tell my clients is very important these days is staging a property.
Yep.
If a buyer walks into a home and it's cluttered and they can't envision themselves living in that home the way the furniture's set up, or there's a lot of homes that I go into and they really just don't show well.
Right.
And in contrast,
like, I wouldn't live here. I can't imagine my client living here.
Right. And statistics definitely show that the return on investment for staging your property is great. I mean, there's stats all over the internet, but I think HomeGain.
And Shaun, those statistics generally come from the HomeGain Home Improvement Survey.
Right. I did see some statistics on HomeGain. I think the most recent was they compared what you do when you stage a home, or if you would fix up the kitchen or bathroom or flooring. The average return on staging is 169%, and I've seen stats as much as 500% on return.
Sure, and you have to make a distinction whether you're doing the staging yourself or hiring a professional. But we have the top 5: it's cleaning and decluttering, lightening and brightening, home staging, landscaping, and repairing electrical and plumbing as being the top things homeowners can do to get their homes ready for sale and get the best return on investment.
Right.
That's on the HomeGain.com webpage. You can go there. It's right on the front page. You can click on Home Improvement and see the results of those surveys.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, you gave a good example to me last week, too, about a condo that you had professionally staged.
Yeah, I had a condo in Fairlington, in Arlington. that we had professionally staged. I usually have a professional do it unless the homeowner has a pretty good idea of when they watch their HD TV and has
Right,
a good idea of how to make their property show well. But there were probably 10 one-bedroom listings at like 711 square feet that have just been sitting for months and months.
Yep.
We staged ours and had a professional photographer come in, and we sold it in less than 30 days, which I think is average. Nationally, usually home sell within 29 to 33 days, I think is the average. I think I saw that on HomeGain, Lewis.
And Shaun, isn't there also not just the price increase that you get, but also how quickly you may be able to get your home sold?
Right, of course. I mean, that's a huge impact. If I'm representing a buyer and we go into a home and I see that it's been listed for 180 days, we're not going to send over a full price offer or anywhere close to it, really. More than likely they're going to get a low ball offer.
Because you don't feel that there's going to be that much competition.
Right, exactly.
The market has spoken. It hasn't taken out at that price.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if we, stage it and get a contract in 2 weeks, they're going to get a much higher price.
Yeah, well, me and you were doing the math last week, remember? And we were like, let's just say that the mortgage on that condo was, $2,000.
Right.
And we know that all those other one bedrooms have been sitting there for months and months and months. And you're trying to convince the seller, hey, this is a commitment for, let's just call it, total commitment for 30 days of probably $2,000 or something like that by the time you pay the stager and their monthly fees. Your return is so much greater because if you sell your house in 30 days, you don't have to make that mortgage payment for 6 months. You probably are getting top dollar. You're not going to have somebody come in and lowball you.
Right.
Maybe not ask for seller concessions. I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, your bottom line could change from $10,000 to $20,000 real quick.
Very quickly, yes.
And Shaun, can you tell us how that conversation goes? Are you generally able to convince them by presenting them survey statistics, or do you get the ones that say, let's see how it goes, and then they'll do it? And how do you handle that?
I really try to get it done up front and stage it up front because, like we were saying, days on market are crucial. And with buyers are looking on the internet, so we need to have the property staged well so we can take great pictures, so we can get as many people in there as possible and expose it to the highest number of qualified buyers, in the first 2 weeks. That way, we're going to get the price we want, or higher.
Yeah, I think that's just great. I mean, I can't tell you how many agents that I talk to, Shaun, that don't advise their clients to do that. It really boggles my mind. It's kind of like, they just go in and I mean, sometimes I think it's one of those things where you're scared to maybe not get the listing. I don't know what it is. You're scared to hurt somebody's feelings. It's kind of like, look at the numbers, because the numbers say, I mean, you said anything that you professionally staged hasn't been on no longer than
30 days.
No longer than 30 days. What does that tell you, the seller out there? Call Shaun.
Shaun, do you actually make that part of your pitch to get the listing is what you're going to recommend, or do you bring that conversation after you get the listing?
No, I always bring it up at the listing appointment. Sometimes they shy away once they hear the prices, and each situation is going to be a little different. But I mean, I just show them my past listings and compare them to other past listings, and just show them the pictures and show them the numbers, and
numbers don't lie.
It makes sense, yes.
And do you have your time on market compared to other real estate agents for home listings?
Yeah, it's going to vary. I used to sell REO properties also, so some of those.
Those are longer, right?
Yeah. But when I'm comparing neighborhoods, then I'll show my time on market compared to other agents. And like I said, like we were saying, it's always less than 30 days whenever we stage it. And obviously we're pricing that property correctly also, because I mean, if it's staged and it's overpriced by $25,000, that's not going to make a
right. Yeah, you're not going to get the traffic, but you price it right, and then you have it staged where they can, basically picture themselves moving into that house and what they can do to it. I mean, I think that just works wonders.
Right.
And Shaun, do you work with one or two or three or any number of stagers that you can recommend to your clients?
Yeah, I use one really. Her name's Alex Atkin with Decorum. And it's not always expensive. Sometimes if it depends on whether the property's vacant or occupied. If it's occupied, then I'll just have her come in, and we just walk through the house and give recommendations, and we explain things that we could buy or change and different ways to set up the furniture. I obviously have picked up a lot of things over the years, but I I definitely like to rely on her being a professional. I'm colorblind, so I can't help with.
Hey, it's better not to dive into too many things. I mean, stick to what you know and
Right.
let them do their job, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's always the best way to go about it. We're coming up on a break. When we come back, we're going to jump into talking about median sales prices versus average sales prices and why that's very important for you as a buyer and seller to pay attention to. Thank you for listening to Real Estate Radio. Be right back.